great evening seeing everyone here. I'm Sheila Collasso, the proud superintendent of Victoria ISD. I'm a little bit over 60 days into the position and could not be happier. So I want to thank all of you. I've had opportunities to connect with most of you in some form or fashion, and the welcome to Victoria has been overwhelming and definitely heartfelt. A lot of things are happening right now, things that I'm excited to share as we go through today's presentation. But before we get started, we have two of our VISD board members here. And so, Ms. Pruitt, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
I'm Marcus Pruitt.
Okay. And here we also have.
I'm Rick Jones.
All right.
And
He just snuck in.
We don't have to do it for much longer. I'm Mike Mercer. Good to see you guys. Thank y'all for being here.
So thank you all for being here. So our team has been intimately involved in the development of the strategic plan, and this plan really defines where we're going to go the next 4 years. We've looked at a lot of data. The superintendent search, there were meetings like this where community members presented data and identified what they wanted to see and what the district should look and sound like moving forward. We also looked at every kind of data that you can imagine: attendance data, discipline data, college readiness data, CTE data, and academic data, and I could go on and on, financial. And based on the data, began to identify what are the 4 or 5 key priorities that we want to establish for the next 4 to 5 years to ensure that Victoria ISD is a destination district. That's premier. That's what we want to see. And so I'll be walking you through the process. And as I begin, I want you to take a look up here. Some of you are parents coming from the business sector. And so take a look at these words. I come from a family of businesses and started working when I was in 5th grade. And I know we didn't have child labor laws at the time because our parents had us working at the time. And this is what I know. So each one of those terms is really how we operate VISD. We're running a business. We look at return on investment. When we adopt a program or a service, we look to see what's the cost on that and what impact is it having on students. We have key performance indicators that we use to measure growth and progress over time. We have productivity, efficiencies, metrics and analysis, and I could go on. The difference for us is this. We have 13,000 clients, and they range in age from 3 to 18 plus. And every one of our clients needs a different product or service. And I see teachers nodding their heads. And so we don't, in our business, get to simply focus on 1 or 2 products. We have to customize our products for every single one of the students we serve. We have 2,400 staff members, 21 schools, and 4 specialized campuses. And we've been in operation 126 years. A lot of history, vision, and tradition. That number, 90%, I want you to think about, are we a small district, a medium district, or a large district? What's your hunch? Medium, small. We're actually larger than 90% of the school districts in Texas. And actually, 98%. I gave us 2% wiggle room, margin of error, right? Because we have a lot of districts that are still growing. But we are a large district, the largest in Region 3, for sure. And so that comes with a lot of responsibility. And I take that serious as a superintendent of schools. This is my responsibility. So, what we know is a strong Victoria is built on strong schools. People want to come to a community where strong schools exist. We have a lot of celebrations in our district, a lot. We just earned the CTE District of Distinction and a lot of other recognitions. And we also know that we have work to do when we look at academics. And so the plan really addresses that. What we know to be true is our state system has an A through F accountability system. We haven't had ratings the last 3 years because of legal issues, and so those haven't been released. When we go back and look at our data the last 2 to 3 years, there are opportunities for improvement. Celebrations in some area, but definitely some opportunities for us to improve. So when I think about our North Star is really centered around those 13,000 students and those 2,400 staff members that we're accountable for. This isn't about position, it's not about me, it's about positioning people to move the work exponentially so that we have the greatest impact with students. Many of you that were walking in today stopped me to say, we've seen so much happening the last couple of months. And I see people nodding their heads. We have. We're all working together to make that happen. The big North Star goal is Beyond Star. We know that's one area of measure, and we have to focus on that because that's how we get measured. But for me, it's really about ensuring that every one of our 13,000 students leaves Victoria ISD college and career ready. And then I'm going to add another C to that, citizenship ready. What the community has said is we need to focus on discipline. And I'm going to switch the narrative a little bit to say it's not necessarily about discipline, it's about being citizenship ready. And there are very clear definitions of what that looks and sounds like, and we have a plan for that. So our strategic planning process really focuses around this one word, excellence. And you're going to hear that over and over again as we move forward. Excellence. What does it look and sound like in every single context as we roll initiatives out across the district? You, me, and VISD. That's our motto. We can't do it alone. It has to be all of us and the larger community working together. We started this process by looking at our core beliefs. And there was a whole list of them that had been generated by the teams before me. And my question was, if I go to Howell, if I go to East, if I go to West, if I go to De Leon, wherever I go, can we as a community define what our core beliefs are? And we didn't have consistent ones. We do now. What we're saying is we value people. We can't do this work without people. We ignite learning, whether it's adult learning or student learning. It's the learning process. We are a learning organization. We stay student-centered. Every single decision we make will be based on what's right for kids. Always moving forward. And then we deliver excellence in everything we do. So as we move through this year, next year, through 2029, what we know is we're all going to be able to recite that. VISD is those 4 things. That's what we believe. That's what we're about. We had our vision, achieving excellence for all. And for me, all means all. Every single one of our 13,000 students should be progressing through our system at expected levels, mastering the knowledge and skills that are expected of that grade level as they move through the system. We're going to get there. And then our mission is really about providing rigorous and relevant learning so that students can contribute positively to society. So those are our 2 guiding principles that really drive this work. We also had this document, and it used to be the portrait of a graduate. Some of you are nodding your heads. If you were part of VISD, you've seen it before. And we've done a shift because we feel like as adults, we need to model what we expect kids to do. And so instead of portrait of a graduate, it's portrait of excellence. And whether you're an adult or a student, you communicate effectively. You think critically. You embrace challenges. You value people. You desire to learn and understand, and you assume responsibility. We do this as adults, and we do it in preparation for our future graduates, so that everyone moves through the system embracing this whole idea of excellence. Our tagline is excellence begins with me. And it starts with me, I'll say that. And I'm the first one to get in line, and I hope that all of you get in line with me and hold hands as we do this work together. The other document that looks probably familiar to you is this leading towards excellence. And we're really pushing this whole notion around leadership. This used to be leading towards genius. And the team, as we gathered information across the district, felt like we needed to move towards excellence. Some people had a hard time connecting with what does genius mean, but we know what excellence means. And so we redefined that, and then we have all of these indicators that tell us what leadership looks and sounds like at every level. Whether you're an adult or a student, this is what we want it to look like. So those are big, broad ideas that we have incorporated into the strategic plan, and they were the initial conversations that guided our work. So I've said a lot so far. I'm going to do a quick pause and ask, are there any questions before I move forward? Yes.
And I like the business approach. So the one thing I was wondering, who do you think the investors or owners of the school district are? Because you had clients, which is fine. But who would you think the owners and the investors are?
So we are all owners. We all have a stake. And investors, I would say, we all need to be investors as well. And investment looks and sounds different. And I say that because one of our big priorities is making sure that parents are involved. And I think about myself as a parent. When my kids were growing up, and there's different continuums of involvement and investment, if you will. And so I wasn't at the school every day, but I was extremely involved with my children to make sure that they had what they needed to be successful. And so for us, it's taken a step back to really think about what does investment look and sound like, and how do we embrace whatever every parent has to offer us and build on that.
Would you just think it's just parents?
No, it's everyone. It's community, it's businesses, it's everyone.
And so then the other one I didn't see on there was return on that investment.
So the return on the investment should be that our kids are graduating college, career, and military ready.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Other questions? Great questions. I like when people push my thinking. All right, so based on all this information, we identified 5 strategic priorities. The first one and the order of them are also by design. The first one is around exemplary student outcomes, and this is about ensuring that every student has a strong start and a strong finish. So we're looking at our 3-year-olds all the way up to our graduates. What does that continuum look like? When we go back and look at our academics, there's a clear need to address literacy, K-12, and numeracy, K-12. And the why behind that is literacy, the reading and writing, and numeracy, the mathematics, are the 2 disciplines that affect and impact every other discipline that we offer. And so our initial strategic planning is centered around that. So we've already started building our literacy framework, and it's bringing in what we know to be true about solid research around reading practices and writing practices, and then the mathematics using our NCTM standards and really building our framework around that. From year to year, what do kids need to master as they progress through the system to ensure that they're on point before they get to high school in particular, and that they graduate college ready. And I'm going to address that a little bit different with some data in just a minute. The other one is around implementing systems to eliminate performance gaps. When we look at our all students compared to every other group of students, we have clear gaps. What are we doing to close those performance gaps among all students? Performing at or above state averages in each tested content. That's our first goal, not our end goal. We want to be at or above the state, but then we'll establish new benchmarks and new KPIs above that so that we continue to push performance up. Ensure that students graduate with their cohort and achieve their AN. Graduate with their cohort simply means to us when a student starts 9th grade, they should be earning the expected credits to graduate within 4 years. Earlier if that's okay. Earlier if possible too. But within 4 years, and achieve their AND is, as you know it, find their AND, graduating with some other industry-based certification as well. And then increase overall attendance. What we've seen is this year there's been a strong emphasis on attendance. Attendance percentages have increased this year. We want to continue to build on that. We can't educate students when they're not sitting in our classrooms. And then the last one is improve dual credit and advanced placement programs and increase associate's degrees. So we've started to expand our dual credit options and our advanced placement options. Dual credit has been really limited to a select number of students. Every student should be eligible to take dual credit. And we want to see that happen. We want those numbers to skyrocket. Advanced placement is a little bit different. We have students taking AP courses. They need to take the AP exam and pass it at a 3 or higher. It's not simply just about taking the course. It's passing the exam as well. Passing the exam means that instruction needs to be at the expected level of rigor for them to do that. And then associate's degrees, we had 2 students with associate's degrees. We have a lot of students, and that's a celebration. We have a lot of students with a few hours, 3 hours, 12 hours, 15 hours, 18 hours, etc. We want to create clear celebrations along the way to honor the number of dual credit hours that are received. We also want to push towards 42 core and associate's degrees because we know our students can do that. So the associate's degree is clearly going to be the 60 hours. I've already started the conversations with Victoria College and UHV to create those clear pathways, both around the core areas and P-TECH and CTE. So we're expanding those options already. Questions before I leave priority number 1, because this is a big one for us. Student outcomes.
I'm sorry.
No, that's great.
I'm a bad influence here. I'm gonna give you questions. On getting the kids up to standards for their literacy, do we have a plan for that? Because currently there are kids in middle school that are like 3 grades in literacy, they're leveled at 3 grades below, and we see these kids daily in town because Victoria's not that large, and you worry about that because they're currently very behind on their literacy, and you know there's a large amount of them.
Yes. So that's why this is up there. We know what the data is telling us. We've looked at all of our assessments. We've looked at multiple sources of data to say we know the kids are behind in grade level. What I'll tell you, and some of you may or may not have done your research on me, I know most of you have, because people always tell me, we looked you up and we checked to see where you came from. I came from a district that was struggling academically. And when I left, we were an A-rated school district. We had the highest reading scores in Bexar County, highest math scores. In fact, I was just talking about our algebra scores. Our algebra scores were at a 96%, 96. All of our end of course exams were at the top. We had double digit, but we were twice as high as the state in college readiness, and I could go on and on. That was all by design. And so even the literacy part, it was bringing in all the components around research-based literacy and beginning to incorporate them, whether it's, we know the Fab 5, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocabulary, comprehension, and phonics. Those are the 5 foundations for reading, but then looking at how do we incorporate guided reading practices, running records, everything that helps us build a solid reading program, starting with our littles all the way up to the top. It's going to take us, when we have kids that far behind, it's going to take us a little bit to get the flywheel going, but I guarantee you, we will be one of the top reading performers because we will incorporate a program that does what we need it to do.
What percentage of graduates actually go to college from BIC?
That's a great question. So we're running the data because I asked that. I'll just foreshadow a little bit. We look at our CCMR, College and Career Military Readiness Indicator. So we have 67%, almost 68% of our students who are career ready, meaning they earned an industry-based certification. 37% of our students are college ready. And so as I've talked to VC, as I've talked to UHV, many of our kids that are going to college are enrolled, but do not necessarily have the skills needed to succeed. And so our emphasis is going to be on, we're going to keep pushing up the IBC side, but our emphasis is going to be on building the college readiness side. Building the college readiness. So you asked me how many kids go. They're running the numbers for me. We have that data available through NCES, the National Center for Educational Statistics. The district doesn't have that data, and so they're running it for me.
The last quote that I got was like in the 26% range.
It's low.
And so the concern, also is that I know we talked about CTE. A lot of the credits are college credits.
For CTE?
Yeah, well, and my concern would be are we going to broaden that to the other 75% of the student base to have, we talk about an and in certification. But
yeah.
I noticed that we've lost a lot of, like in the welding is no longer available to them, a variety of other things. We're oil field based and a basis in our economy, drill baby drill type of thing.
Yeah.
And so my point is, what are we going to be working in that direction, not just in the college direction, because I don't know if everybody should be in college, but definitely an industry base. We have just down the street, you got SpaceX just down the street, and a variety of different places. And so, Tesla in Austin. So a lot of construction, very necessary, electrical, those type of things. So what are your thoughts on that?
So my thoughts on that are the industry-based certification is great. What I want to see is that we move towards a level 1 or level 2 certificate, meaning they have the college hours to support that, or the associate's degree. And I'll give you several examples. One is on the welding. Our students should be walking away with at least 18 hours and moving towards the level 1 certificate, because right now they get the welding certificate, but they're not getting the college credits with a level 1 or 2 that goes with it. For our P-TECH, the P-TECH program, on the medical side, if you will, we're doing a CMA, Certified Medical Assistance, which is great. I mean, you can use that as you go. What I want to see is how are kids earning the college credits to get an LVN program. They need their LVN, and then they build on that to get the RN program after they've completed that. And so it's really about strategically planning every single one of those programs of study so that students get those college hours. And we've started that already. We've done alignment. We've expanded our programs of study. We had 18. We now have 23 moving into next year. But it's not just the programs of study with the high school courses. It's about getting those college courses as well. And sometimes, and I know that it happened, even in San Antonio, we had multiple colleges. We had Palo Alto College, SAC, we had St. Phillips. We had all of them. And working with them to create those pipelines was sometimes difficult. So we worked with multiple colleges to make that happen. We will start with VC and UHV. However, if we have to expand because we can't build it there, then we will look at those options as well. Yes?
How do you measure college readiness?
College readiness is measured by the state. It's measured through TSIA-2, the number of students that pass that in both reading and math. SAT, ACT, whether they earn college credit in English or math is one option, or 15 hours everywhere else, or whether they get an associate's degree. Yes.
So, I'm one of the lucky parents that is a student of the DTech program.
Yes.
First freshman as a computer science.
Yay.
So he will be one of the ones getting his associate's degree before his high school diploma this year. He's from Howell. He's very lucky. So, my question is, I love that we're starting with DC and UHB buy-in, but I do think that we really kind of need to expand already. It's been a lot of legwork and a lot of heartache this year picking a college because he's had his choice because of this program, which is great. But I do think that we do need buy-in from other state universities because, having a map from Sam Houston and A&M and just for this one major for him has been a lot of hard work on our counselors' end, on Ms. Roy's end. So I do think we already kind of need that buy-in. But also, I will say, I really think that parent buy-in and career college exploration, I really see that kind of at a high school level. I'm wanting to start to see it here because he chose his intended major based on a 7th grade project here. So I really kind of want to see a little more college exploration, college readiness. What are we wanting to do? What do we like to do? And then matching our futures as early as 5th grade. Because I really think that him having that and has helped propel us in the direction we are. And I fear that, some people who don't have the same support system and some of the network that he's had here and at West, I fear for those students because those students are not going to have that step up like he does. So I kind of want more buy-in at a younger level and in middle school right now because I saw that with him and I saw that work. So I really think that we really need to start having those conversations early, even with parents. Like, I really want to know what Sophie's, my daughter's coming up, so I want to know what her, college plan is going to look like. And I already know, I want to know those things, and I didn't get to know those things. I was lucky that he told me.
Yeah.
But I want to see a little bit more buy-in as a district, very young, because there's so many opportunities and there's so many things that I didn't even think possible and he didn't even think possible. So I'd like to see that buy-in younger.
We couldn't have said it better. How many hours do you have to devote?
I'll give you my cell phone number.
There you go. And it's really that. It's starting young. Kids, we need to start cultivating exactly what you're saying early on. Thank you.
And I have kind of touched on what I was going to ask about. Those students that are not destined for college, because we have over the last 10 years lost a lot of our electives that were for the kids that were not college bound. My husband took small engine repair here and he uses those skills every day. That's not his career, but he can fix my chipper shredder for me. In shop, the kids that, learned about construction and that, built on other skills. And so those are things that I think a lot of these young ones, just to add to that, we need a lot more of that in the junior high to help them figure out what they want to do earlier.
Yeah, and what we do know is the state pays us for all CTE courses at junior high now. They didn't used to. So we earn additional revenue for that. And I think the question we need to ask based on what you're saying is it that kids aren't going to go to college because they don't want to, or is it because our expectations haven't been for them to go to college? And it goes back to what you asked about the numbers. And for me, it's about expectations. What do we expect of all of our students? Not every student's going to go to college, and that's not the reality. And we have to ask, are there more students that should be going because they have the potential to go? And that's what we want to see. So this one is around great questions, great comments. This one's around student outcomes. This is clearly the big one for us. This doesn't happen without, this is how we're going to do it. We have our academic playbook. We've already started rolling that out. We have our instructional priorities that we're focusing on. This is the academic playbook. I'm not going to go into detail with that. We've talked to principals about this. We're starting to roll it out. Tried, proven, and true. every single piece of this playbook has to be in place to get us where we need to be. The other thing is, we talked about the literacy framework, the numeracy framework, expanding our CTE programs, dual credit and advanced placement and associate degree expansions. And then we really need to focus on rigor, relevance, and engagement. Like, what is rigorous? What is relevance? How do we connect everything to real world applications? And then focus on acceleration. When kids are already performing at high levels, how do we continue to accelerate them? What are the interventions that we need to provide for students to close those gaps? And then what kind of support systems should we have in place for the students that need those support systems? All of those components have to come together. This is what makes it all tick. So number 2, we talked about student outcomes. This is the next one, number 2, and it's number 2 by design, because you can't get student outcomes until you empower staff. Research tells us over and over that student outcomes are directly correlated to the quality of the teacher in the classroom. We want to make sure that every single classroom, every single teacher that stands in front of every classroom is highly effective. Not just highly certified, highly qualified, but highly effective. That's what we need. And so for us, it's about expanding and improving recruitment and retention strategies to attract and retain staff. And then increasing capacity through aligned professional development. Our whole summer calendar is already built around these literacy institutes, numeracy institutes, leadership institutes. Summer is already established. And then, and I'm gonna kind of throw in a little caveat. So last week in The Advocate, they said the title was the big, I forgot what it said, the big push or whatever. Administrators will have no summer. And I thought, where did this come from? We're getting a summer. Yeah. And so that was really centered around our PD plan, is what I was talking to them about. And then enhanced recognition processes to affirm staff. We know that what we want to ensure is that we start closing the salary gap that exists. That's a priority for us. We're looking at strategies, and I'll talk a little bit later about some of the things that we're doing. But we are a people-centered organization. You have to take care of your people. Your people will take care of you. That's my philosophy. So this one is around staff. Number 3 is around safe and innovative learning environments. So here we're talking about safety per se. We're talking about positive discipline and building that citizenship readiness. And then we're talking also about authentic integrated technology. And I'm not talking just about Chromebooks. I'm talking about how are students using authentic technology that's aligned to the courses that they're taking. And so in science, using probes, things like that. In math, we know there's mathematical tools that we use. How are we bringing all of that in to enhance the environment and ensure that students have what they need in order to meet the performance objectives on the academic side? And then the last one is innovative learning environments. It's everything that we've been talking about in building those pathways and those learning environments. Number 4, before I leave that, so we talked about citizenship readiness. What you're going to see is we're rolling out these 10 BISD values. So I talked about it's not about discipline, it's about citizenship readiness. We had these, we threw them around all over the place and said, let's look at them. What are those 10 things that we believe students need to master to be citizenship ready? And we started with excellence because that's our theme. Excellence, respect, honesty, perseverance, gratitude, responsibility, courage, integrity, accountability, and law abidance and civic duty. So in some form or fashion, everything that we expect falls into one of those. We're going to roll this out with our citizenship readiness plan. You're going to see this little poster, big poster, teeny poster everywhere. Hopefully in homes, businesses, buses, classrooms, campuses, cafeterias, everywhere. We have to instill this. And it's not just about the students, it's about the adults. What do we do to model this so that students understand what it looks and sounds like? Before I leave that, Questions or comments about anything here? Do you believe students have to master these?
I think they should. Absolutely.
So they're gonna see this in our VISD employee handbook, it's gonna be there. In our student handbook, gonna be there. Student code of conduct will be there. And then our whole citizenship ready or discipline plan will be built and framed around these things. Next thing is around authentic partnerships. So this is around creating authentic partnerships that result in shared responsibilities that benefit students. We have amazing partnerships right now. We created a database that outlines every one of the partners that we currently work with, and it's well over 100 and something partners, a lot. What we're also saying is, how do we continue to create opportunities for students, partnerships that benefit students? I was at Caterpillar this morning, starting those conversations with them. Met with EDC this morning, the VEDC, and there's one of the Caterpillar partners, and it's not partners, it is their,
Board.
the,
They've got a board at EDC, Caterpillar's got a position on it.
yeah, it's the people, the suppliers. That's, one of the Caterpillar suppliers contacted us this morning, and they want to do paid internships with our students. So I'm out there knocking on doors and looking at what kinds of partnerships and internships can we secure to benefit our students. We're just starting, we're gonna expand that and create those kinds of opportunities for students. So that's really what this is about. The last one is a little bit different. It's around communication systems that are collaborative, timely, proactive, and consistent to meet the needs of all stakeholders. We do a lot of things via social media. Not every parent is connected via social media. So we're putting out a district digest, some print copies that'll go out periodically of what's happening in VISD. At the end of the year, we'll have an annual report that tells everyone how we're doing. Transparent with all our results, all our numbers, all of those things. So we already, the first digest is gonna go to print tomorrow, be disseminated next week across the community. The last one is around operational excellence. So it's short-term and long-term planning to comprehensively anticipate and address needs. So this one is around finance, and it's around facilities, and around replacement cycle plans. Those are big priorities for us because they have to be. They are also very big cost items as we look at it. So Randy Meyer standing in the back, one of our big brains, and he's working on a couple of different projects that we're gonna be rolling out. One of them is around facilities planning. We're creating a very concise document that'll detail out for us for the next 75 years, and I promise you I won't be here, for the next 75 years, what needs to be replaced when, so that we as a community can see, we have 10 facilities that all need a roof in this year. And we have 12 facilities that all need HVAC replaced in this year, and we're very transparent about what that looks like. When we don't take care of those things and we push them off, then eventually those maintenance costs become more expensive. And so we're working on those kinds of things as well on the operations side. And it's really identifying for us as we build the budget, and we're hoping, we're crossing our fingers that we're gonna get close to a balanced budget this year as we develop it, because we've started some of that planning already. But how do we ensure that we're building this budget to align with where we want to go with students and these student outcomes? So those are our big 5 strategic priorities. We have also developed action plans to go with that. So what is the process? The first process is we have this strategic plan in draft form. It's being presented across town halls. Campus principals are presenting it to staff to get feedback. We're doing it at the department levels, at central office, etc. Then we develop our VISD board goals. So for the 5 priorities, we will have 5 board goals with some indicators under each that detail what we want to achieve. We have our VISD action plans and department work plans. Every single one of these areas already has action plans that are developed, because we started working on that. I'll show you one page in a minute. Then we developed a district improvement plan to go with that, and then the campus improvement plans. So everything cascades in a very aligned manner. It's all streamlined. This is our VISD action plan. So when we start looking at student outcomes, we have our strategic actions, our KPIs, and our key progress measures. We also have at the department level timelines and who's responsible and all those things. But the work is already all detailed out for us, because we want to make sure that we're ready to go as summer starts to roll around, and placing a lot of these initiatives in place. Then there are 6 other priority plans that we're working on. So based on what you saw in student outcomes, we have the academic improvement plan that details it out. We're doing a personnel right sizing plan. So what does that mean? We're looking at every single position, and we're starting at the district level. Right now it's central to say, what are all the positions we have? How are those positions utilized? We are not going to do a reduction in force, but through attrition, we're starting to right size. And currently we have about 1.3 million that we've already looked at in our right sizing plan. And there are people that are retiring, people that are moving, people that say, I want to join the bridge program instead. And so we're shrinking what our central office looks like. The other one is our facilities improvement plan. That's the one that Randy Meyer's working on. Replacement cycle plan. What we want to do is we're looking at all our capital assets to say, because this has been, we've had some of it, but they're in different departments. And so we're pulling it all together to say, when we look at buses, when we look at technology, when we look at all of these big capital assets, what is it that we have to replace? What TERPs, those kinds of things that all of a sudden you have that cost. When do they need to be replaced, and where are they on that replacement cycle? Contract management plan. This one is, what we've done is we have contracts that are sitting across departments at central office, and everyone was managing their contracts. We have centralized those now. They're all in one Power BI spreadsheet, and what it does is it tells you who is the vendor, what's the contract for, who owns it, how much was it, et cetera, when does it start, when does it end. So 6 months before your contract ends, it sends you a message and it says, Sheila Collazo, your contract for Microsoft is expiring in 6 months. What it allows me to do is go back in and negotiate with my vendor to say, you know what, we were here at this price, we want to go back and look at this price, and we go back and renegotiate. And if we can't, one is, do we still need it? 2, can we renegotiate it? 3, is there another vendor that would offer me comparable services at a lower price? I did this in my old district. We saved $500,000 the first year. So it's pulling all this together in a very strategic way. Michelle Yates has started this for us, and she's done an amazing job. And then the last one is the one I've been talking about, citizenship readiness plan. We're going to roll out at the beginning of next year a citizenship discipline ready plan across VISD where it's consistent. If you go to this school, it's this consequence. If you go to this school, it's the same one. And so we have a very strategic way of rolling that out. Are you tired of all the work already? There's a lot of things happening. It's exciting, exciting work. Questions about anything that I've said here? So, it's you, me, and VISD. I've adopted that theme. It was your theme at the beginning of the year. It's what I've embraced because I keep saying, we can't do this work alone. We all have to work together. It has to be you, me, and VISD. The fact that we have so many people sitting here today says a lot. People said, well, we've had bond meetings and other things, we haven't had this many people. And I'm like, well, I'm bringing them in. But this work is exciting. It's exciting. Questions? Mm-hmm.
Just a comment.
Yeah.
Like, go to some of the colleges where teachers are about to graduate and recruit, because I mean, I'm not a teacher and I'm not Man, I wanna go work for her. This is exciting. I mean, you're very good at what you do, and I think it would be exciting to get to work with
Thank you. I'll make that one of my to-dos.
you. Recruiting.
Job recruiting,
I do have a question.
yes.
What is your plan, I know you have one, when you do roll out your citizenship ready plan and you've got, how are you gonna get a buy-in from the parents? I think that's, as a longtime teacher, that has always been one of our biggest struggles, is getting parent support when it comes to, we are trying to better your child, we are wanting what's best for your child. We're not out to get your child, but we have expectations.
Yeah.
How are you gonna meet the resistance? Because I think we all have that question.
I'm not sure that there will be resistance. It's about ensuring that there's ownership.
Okay.
It's ensuring there's ownership and that we all understand that we all play an integral role in that plan. Now, are we gonna have the few outliers that just don't commit? Absolutely, So then what do we do individually to build relationships with those kids? Because I can tell you, when you build strong relationships with kids, they'll do anything for you. And so and we should be doing that with every student, but there are some that we have to be very intentional with, because when they know that somebody cares, they care. So I can't fully answer it, because there will be a process for rolling out, but we all have to be on the same page, and it's about consistent messaging across the district, across the city, rather.
I love that you mentioned that, and I love that you have a plan to eliminate performance gaps amongst student groups. I am a former foster parent. I adopted all 3 of my kids, so I know some of those diverse needs that children do need at school and at home. I also work with marginalized populations. Last year, we ended the school year with just about 700 McKinney-Vento identified students, which is equivalent to a middle school, right?
Yeah.
Do you, which I'm sure you have a plan, to eliminate those barriers, because their attendance needs come from situational at times, most of them, right? Their behaviors come from environment, and then their academic performance comes from all of the other barriers that come with homelessness. Do you have a plan to in place to target that population also, as well as foster care too?
So I tell you where I came from, and we were A-rated. We were also 87% economically disadvantaged, and if you drove through some of our neighborhoods, it was dismal, and it was difficult to see sometimes. So I know what some of that looks like. We have to create the culture and conditions here where kids feel like when they're here, they're willing to do whatever it takes because we care. And it's part of the bigger plan, but we all have to do that.
I love that. Thank you.
Last time.
Yes. No. Any you want.
So on the communication, and from my observation, and maybe false, but we have issues passing bond issues. It may be false, right? So the communication, we can be as transparent as we are, or could be, but if we're not communicating it clearly and concisely to the non-parent, then as far as we're concerned, we're a fog. And so my concern is, I know she's talked about we're gonna send all this email and identification and communication out to the parents. I don't think that's going to be the problem. I think, to me, it's the other 50% of the taxpayers that are investing into the future. And so, and understand that whether you're making an indirect property tax payment through a rent, or you're doing it through your house or mortgage or whatever, or if you have multi-properties, that's an investor. And so my concern would be is how, and I don't think there's an answer today, but the challenge would be, and it's been a consistent challenge, I'm looking over at him, it's been a consistent challenge for the school district. How do we adequately communicate to the investigative public, and with some are parents, some are not. We do not have any kids in the school district, and so, but the bottom line is, how do we communicate with them clearly and concisely that there is a need, and this is what you're doing, these are the positive sides of it, and also these are the downsides of it. We've had huge issues with that as well. But, so I didn't see that in the plan. I saw some communication with parents, but I think that needs to also be addressed. Would
Sure.
you say?
If you'll give me a second.
Absolutely.
I'll say this 1,000 times. Nothing works better than someone telling someone something. Most of you know that I'm rolling off this year in May. And one of the reasons I'm rolling off is specifically for that purpose, is to try to build a grassroots group of people that are not associated with the district, that are not parents, that haven't had a vested interest in the district for quite some time. And to start doing specifically those things, to go around and build coalitions of people that will talk amongst themselves, give them the opportunities. I haven't had a chance to do that over the last 6 years. It's been a lot busier than I ever thought it was going to be. But I have learned over those 6 years, because we have tried doing literally everything we could, from television to radio to print ads to a number of different things. And what I have learned through the process, like tonight, most of you have probably heard about this meeting because someone told you about this meeting. When we were doing our town halls for our superintendent search, most of the people that I've talked to, I was like, how did you hear about this? Well, so-and-so told me. I am absolutely convinced in today's age, where we are inundated by a number of means of communication, the only true effective means for communication any longer is face-to-face, one-on-one. And so it is very hard. I've learned that it is very difficult as a district to do that. Now, I will trot her out everywhere. Absolutely take her everywhere to help talk about the need. But it's going to take people outside the district to actively be involved, connecting with people who do not have a connection to the district in any way, shape, or form. And I'm going to get your name as soon as this is over. If for nothing else, just for suggestions. I'm not going to sign you up for anything, but just for suggestions. But I do think that is very important, because a lot of times we take that information and we internalize that and say, oh, well, I think that's a good need, and then it stops there with us. And that is what I have run into over the last several bond issues, is like, oh yeah, well, I went and voted. Well, who did you talk to? Well, I assumed everybody else heard about it, and so I didn't say anything. And that is unfortunately something I've heard over and over and over again. So that is going to be one of my prime focuses after May moving forward, is just to make sure people know on a face-to-face basis what's going on.
Yes. I was actually gonna try to talk to Mike about this tonight and get like a pros and cons thing, because I personally only see the pros. But as a VISD parent, I receive text messages and emails, and that's how I know stuff. I'm not on social media. I don't go to an app. I know y'all have apps. Well, now I do, because I did the VISD Academy and I downloaded it, but I don't go to the website and look around. And my suggestion and my thought process, and I've been doing some legwork and wanted to just share, but is go to the voting office and see how many people, 6,000 people show up for all the elections. It's not the 65,000 population, but those people that go and vote, get those 6,000 people, and we start texting and emailing them as well. And we share with them the positive stuff. Hey, our ratings are going up. Look at, we were I don't know, what are we, a D?
C,
and now we're a B. And our band just was nationally recognized, and our CTE program just got, sharing the positive, but then also sharing that fiscally responsible, I forget what you called it, the plan Randy's working on.
Yeah.
Because we are such a stubborn community.
Mhm.
And so many of these people don't put A plus B equals C together. They just see, well, what's it costing me? They don't realize those kids coming out of that school, they're gonna check you out at HEB. They're gonna sit by you at the movies. They're gonna, you want decent people coming out, and they just don't see it. That citizenship, it's gonna be important, but I don't know, it's just something I think might reach that population, because that's what I hear a lot, is people are like, well, I don't know anything.
Yeah.
They're not gonna go look for it.
Great point.
When you talked about right sizing, are y'all just looking specifically at how things function in our district, or you're going back to the TASB study from a while
Both.
back, or?
Both. Both.
Saw another hand go up here.
Well, you gave us 1 hour. Hope you learned a lot about where we're going, what we're doing. A lot of work is already in place. I'm fully committed, 200% committed, 300%, whatever it takes. I can't do it alone. Many of you are district staff, some of you are parents, community members. We all have to come together, voice the voice, be the voice for kids. And I guarantee you, let's work the plan, and we're gonna start seeing the trajectory change, because it does. It does. Thank you for being here. We
Hey,
do have our-
if you think of anything,
Yeah,
there's a QR
I was
code
just, thank you.
on the screen. If you come up with questions or answers, and we also have some paper forms too. If you want to take one of those, you can submit those if something pops into your head at a later date. Those are so important. Like I said, what I learned, it was so valuable for us as a board when we did the superintendent search. The feedback that we got from the community was priceless. And we think it's going to be priceless in this venue or in this situation as well. Normally, Ms. Criazzo talks about 60 days on the job that she's been running ever since she got here. She started on this job long before she got this job, guys. You got a 45, 50-minute condensed version of one of her interviews is what you got when we went through the process. I can tell you right now that she has a passion for this district and what this district is going through, where we are and where she wants to take it. And it was absolutely visible from the very first moment that we met her. And again, she'll tell you she's been working here 60 days, but she's been working on this district longer than she's had this job. I can guarantee you that. So we're very fortunate to have her. We're very fortunate, all of you that are here tonight that are employees and staff of BISD, we're very fortunate to have you as well. Thank you so much for being here. Those of you that are not associated with BISD, we are very thankful and very grateful for your presence here tonight and your comments and your input. We're stronger together.
That's it.
And thank y'all again.
Sheila has cards if you'd prefer to use a card, or here's a QR code. But we do want your feedback. Thank you, thank you.